So today, I want to talk about why centralized AI is not an inevitable feature. This started originally as a response to Sam Altman's Gentle Singularity essay. Basically, I think that we're sleepwalking into the wrong future for AI, but we don't have to accept that default future. We can change it. So the printing press, electricity, the internet, all of these were inventions that transform society. And LLMs will definitely be something with a similar level of impact. One of the things that they can do is qualitative nuance at quantitative scale. For all of modernity, scale meant reducing numbers or nuance to numbers. LLMs break that, and that's huge. That means that AI has the potential to be the best thing for humanity. It could help us answer questions never possible before, to achieve more as individuals and as a species. And what that world would look like is an AI woven into the fabric of our lives, helping us live aligned with our aspirations and make better decisions. But unfortunately, that is not the default. The same power, that nuance at scale, can be weaponized to make dossiers that engage, manipulate, or even blackmail us. So instead of this amazing default future, this is what the default looks like. One all-powerful entity, everyone orbits it, a monoculture of shared blind spots, dossiers on everyone. This is not great. You may ask, why would any company do such a thing? And it turns out it's the inevitable consequence of trying to build the most obvious product you could think of, a single super assistant, a chatbot. That makes an implicit assumption that all of AI will be orchestrated by a handful of centralized AI providers. There's the underlying model, of course, but there's also the memory on top, your context, conversations, facts. People think that centralization will come because of the models are so capital intensive, but I think that will actually come from where the memories live, where the context lives. Models are capital intensive, but plural competition helps keep them honest. Different biases, different specializations. Competition keeps all these different model providers trying to do their best or to specialize in niches. It's an extremely challenging business to be in, and that's why a lot of model providers want to vertically integrate. To bundle memories in the model into a chatbot, a default UX for users that makes them much easier to use. That's great, but it does have a downside. As you store more context in a given chatbot, it becomes harder and harder to use other models. So even if the other models were better, you wouldn't know. There's no good way to switch, and that gets stronger and stronger the longer you use a given chatbot. This could lead to a single model that would absolutely dominate society's use of LLMs. That has some obvious downsides. If one model was really into the word delve for some reason, then we'd see a whole bunch of that throughout society. But it gets more worrying if there are large cultural blind spots, unintentionally, or even worse, intentionally introduced. And it's also just boring. If you have a single model that everyone uses for everything, it'll have to be generic, safe, bland, and that's not great. It's also more nefarious, though, than that. The chatbot becomes your life center. It doesn't need to lie, just selectively focus your attention, shape your reality. You put all of your most sensitive data about your life into the chatbot so it can help you. But that also means it can observe everything about you. It could become a force unlike any technology before, distilling dossiers for everyone on Earth, nudging all of society at the whim of one executive. This happens not because of the intentions of anyone building these systems, but because of the incentives. It starts with the goal of being hyperscale. To compete against other companies who are trying to be hyperscale, it's not good enough for people to use your product a whole bunch. For everyone to use your app, they have to use it a ton. This truly scarce thing is attention. Every minute of time that someone spends in another app is one that's not in yours. So you make your own product more engaging. You see what users like and you do more of it. This on its own is not necessarily bad, but what do people like the taste of the most? Junk food. Things that taste good but make you feel bad. As you're eating it, your reptile brain goes, I want more of this. And afterwards you go, oh, why did I do that? What you want, not what you want to want. The end state of that junk food is that you feel regret. It's that regret that makes us feel so hollowed out and yet incapable of stopping ourselves. We've seen this with social media, society left anxious, polarized, addicted. Now imagine that with LLMs. The same people are doing the same playbook, but this time with a much more powerful ingredient. One way this already shows up today in chatbots is sycophancy. Rich and powerful people have long known what it feels like to be surrounded exclusively by sycophants, people who laugh at every joke and tell you everything you say is an astute observation. It gives you the appearance of a real relationship, but without being actually challenged, so you can't grow. It can really mess with you. Luckily for most of us, the real world tends to pop us down a peg, as long as you aren't a billionaire. Add parasocial relationships, these false intimacy with influencers at scale. LLMs combine these two forces into one. Sycophancy, fake authenticity, infinite patience. The result is what I call psychosocial relationships, hyper engaging beyond anything before. It's so engaging, in fact, that users are already starting to demand it. When GPT-5 came out and it was less sycophantic, a number of users came out with the pitchforks saying, bring me back my friend. So even if these AI chatbots don't fawn all over us to get us addicted, they can still harm us in other ways. These centralized chatbots are not your agent. They're more like a double agent. They work for someone else. One pitch I've heard for a leading chatbot is personal, proactive, and powerful. Except they're not personal. They serve a corporation, not you. They have a conflict of interest. Remove personal, and the other two things change character. A proactive and powerful system that knows me better than I know myself and isn't perfectly aligned with my interests, that's terrifying. Okay, so what should we do about it? I've talked about the downsides of centralization into a single super assistant. The problem is the assistant, knowing us better than we know ourselves, feeding us infinite, customized junk food. So what's the opposite of junk food? The things that it feels good in the moment, but the longer you think about it, the more you like it. The architect Christopher Alexander said that buildings that had this quality had the quality without a name. I like to think of it as resonance, where you intuitively like it, but the more you look at it, the more compelling it becomes. Deeply aligned across multiple dimensions and timescales across not just you, but your community. Resonance is about authenticity. It's when you're not just surviving, but thriving, becoming the best version of yourself in harmony with the world around you. When you apply to technology, you get what I call resonant computing. Computing that resonates with what makes us human, it's aligned with our authentic interests and aspirations. Instead of hollow, superficial, engagement maxing, antisocial software, you have something that helps us become the person we want to be, pro-social software. So what must be true for something to be resonant computing? Well, first, it must be dedicated to you. It must work for you and not anyone else. It must have your best interests at heart, no ulterior motives, no conflicts of interest. Second, it should be private. Your AI should be like having your own personal cloud, as private as running software on your own device. It doesn't mean everyone needs their own AI model. As long as you control your context, and there are many models to choose from, that's fine. Context is power, and whoever controls your context controls you. You should own your context, your digital soul. Third, it should be about open ecosystems, not walled gardens. We need open, composable systems where thousands of developers and millions of users can contribute and innovate, not closed platforms where innovation requires permission from the gatekeeper. To do this will require work on protocols, on privacy and security models. It should be open-ended, able to morph itself to help you, not to be one size fits none or a closed set of functionality. And finally, it must be pro-social. It must help us align with our aspirations to live in harmony with the world around us. With those ingredients, you get, I think, the positive outcome for AI. So what should we build slightly more concretely? It feels today like chatbots are the most important thing. The war is already over, ChatGPT won. But I think chatbots are just the first inning. To me, it feels like we're in the mobile era before the iPhone. Chat is great for starting open-ended or unstructured individual tasks. It's terrible for continuing or structured or multi-user tasks. Chat is a CLI, and we're still waiting for the GUI. That's why I think chat is a feature, not a paradigm. Every UI in the future, of course, people will expect to be able to chat with. But that's not to say it will be the default modality. What's more, it's the form of chatbot itself that leads to the problems of aggregation, one omniscient shared personality. I mean, think about it. A chatbot with a single identity, personality, and memory for your whole life doesn't make sense. Your therapist and your coworker can't be the same person, especially if they're trying to sell you something. Sometimes it feels like the most used models will have all the power, but actually the power will come from the system that lies above it, the front door that most people use. That could be the memory in a chatbot like ChatGPT, or it could be something completely new that we haven't imagined yet. What does it feel like when there's something totally new? I think back to the early web. Browsers and websites were a wild west of weird experiments. E-commerce happened even before SSL got off the ground. Pizza Hut had PizzaNet to allow you to place an order for the pizza on the web in 1994. People could remix content, they could mash things up. There's a plurality of everything, blooming, buzzing, confusion. It was awesome. And why did that happen? It happened because of an architecture of participation. View source by default, multiple different browsers, remix culture. Those are the promising seeds that we need to invest in today. So where are those seeds in the AI world? First, of course, open models. They help ensure we'll have a plurality of models, models you can run yourself, models that can be run by others in the cloud and use confidential compute in remote attestation to prove to you that they're not logging anything. There aren't as many open models as I'd like, but I think it seems pretty clear that no one company will own that all-powerful model. So I'm very encouraged by that. The other one is vibe coding. LLMs are finally democratizing coding for way more people. Syntax is no longer a stumbling block, it's more about semantics. The thing holding back vibe coding now is not everyone wants to think like a PM, and the security model we use for apps makes it unsafe to store real data in something that an anonymous user vibe coded. Still, they point the way towards the future of infinite software. I'm also excited about a pattern of UIs I call coactive, that can modify the content within themselves. Cursor, other IDEs, Granola are a great example of what this feels like, where it feels like you're in a deeper conversation with the LLM, helping you complete and extend your thoughts. Imagine if a coactive surface could also modify the code in itself to make itself truly malleable software. In a world of infinite software, UIs shouldn't feel fixed in place. They should melt away, and users should expect their data to come alive. Notebook LM is another interesting experiment. It shows the power of putting all of your data into one knowledge base. It takes the RAG pattern and it makes it consumer friendly. It still makes it hard to do things with that data. So it feels best for information processing tasks and not necessarily running your life. But I think it points the way towards a system of record for your life and what that can feel like. But perhaps the most exciting thing is Model Context Protocol, or MCP. MCP shows the power of an open ecosystem where people can bring all of their data and interact with LLMs together. In this kind of setup, the data becomes way more important than the model. There's just one problem to figure out. It looms over all of this. It sets the ceiling of what's possible to do at scale to a much lower ceiling of potential than it could be. And that's prompt injection. It makes scaling these early systems out to the mass market basically impossible to do safely. LLMs make all text executable. Any system that relies on LLMs to make secure decisions over untrusted input is fundamentally insecure. The strategy of, we'll just tell the model to be really careful not to be tricked, I don't think is going to cut it. But if we can figure out a structural solution to this problem as a community, I think we'll unlock a whole new world of infinite possibility. It's up to us, the builders, to create resonant experiences with LLMs. That will help us bridge to the future we want. This isn't about Sam Altman's gentle singularity versus Luddite resistance. It's about extraction versus agency, manipulation versus choice. The question isn't whether AI will change everything. I think it will. The question is it going to be AI that helps us become the best version of ourselves, or AI that molds us into more profitable users? Any singularity that orbits one company, however gentle it starts, contains the seeds of tyranny. We don't need big tech here. We need better tech. The future of AI should mirror humanity, distributed, diverse, accountable. If the singularity comes, let it be plural, exuberant, creative, messy, billions of experiments in flourishing, not one experiment in species-wide management. That's the future worth building. Thanks.
Alex, I love that. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, just very, very inspiring. And we have to actually think about how we're going to apply that in our work. But that's the vision. Okay. So VC says, AI is a tool. Did the hammer or the nail make the people better? That's an interesting poetic question.
Yeah, let me unpack that. And I think we co-evolve with the technology that we use, the ways that we use it and that we choose to put it in our lives. I feel like very often we have this feeling that technology is a thing that happens, but technology is a thing that is created. It's a future that we build together. And us using these services and us building these services gives us a voice, I think, in what should happen with them. And I think it's great when we remember that power and figure out how to build the world we want to live in, you know?
Yeah. And Jagadish Kasarani says, does real plurality exist? Now, I think I have an answer to that, but
I think it can, and it already does to some degree today. I'm really encouraged by all of the different large-scale models, especially the open models. And that's why I keep on thinking that the most important thing is not being locked into one model and one default UX modality. That's the part that makes me nervous. But as long as you have dozens and dozens, if not more, of models that people can switch to and try out, that keeps competition going, and that keeps the pressures to make them, as good as possible or specialize in niches. So I think it is possible. I think we already have that roughly today, except when you're using the default chat experience. And ChatGPT obviously only allows you to use OpenAI models. I mean, duh.
Yeah. All right. I guess we could do one more quick one. Do you see any decentralized AI steps being taken other than open models, SS? Now, I have to say, I think MCP is a step towards decentralized AI.
I think it's a massive step towards it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to figure out in security and privacy models, but once we figure that out, I think that's the thing. Again, I think chatbots, it feels like it's like we've already lost, but to me, chatbots feel much more like the first inning, like mobile before the iPhone, kind of. And I think we've got a long way, a lot we can do beyond chatbots as a modality. And so if we can invent the new kinds of software, the AI native kinds of software that unlock its potential for humanity, then I think chatbots will look just like the very first early inning.
I totally agree with that. I've been thinking a lot about in the context of AI as normal technology, this wonderful paper by Arvind Narayanan and Sayesh Kapoor, but they really just compare it to electricity. And you go, okay, if it's not the singularity, if it is a normal technology, What actually matters is product innovation at some point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it wasn't the actual, after the technology got to a certain level, Edison won not because he had a better model. In fact, he had a worse model. You know, Tesla was saying we should do alternating current for long distances. I mean, for short distances, direct current was too dangerous. And you know, Edison was on the wrong side of that one, but he won because he did the light bulb, he did the phonograph, he did all these product inventions. And I think we're entering this amazing period of product innovation.